Greetings and how are you today? Brilliant to see you. We're back with another fantastic, amazing wine recipe, and this one is so simple to make, especially over winter when fresh produce is reduced. Your allotment isn't churning out all the fruits that you want to make wine with. So this wine is ideal. It's a store cupboard wine. It's a cheap and cheerful wine that's reasonably quick to ferment, quick to mature and be ready for the summer. So make it now, over winter, ready for the summer to boost your stocks, to give you that lovely, sweet, lovely wine. And this wine recipe is a very simple jam or jelly, if you live in America, wine made out of very simple jars of jam. Now, you can use whatever flavour jam you normally like to spread on your toast in the mornings. It doesn't really matter. If you like blackberry jam on your toast, use it. If you like raspberry, strawberry, whatever jam you like, use it. It's your wine, your jam, your preference. Make the wine that you want to make. I have not noticed much variation between the El Cheapo store cupboard type you get on the bottom shelf, the cheap stuff, the 27p a jar type, and the really expensive branded stuff. You melt it down, you add it to your wine. You want that sugar, you want that flavour. So I'm using 4 jars of Tesco's Stockwell strawberry jam. I like it on my toast, it does the job. Each jam jar has 454 grams of jam inside of it. So that brings your total amount of jam that we need for this recipe to be 1.816 kilograms of jam. And the jam has 60 grams of sugar per 100 grams. So that gives you a total sugar quantity from your jam jars of just over the kilogram, 1.08 grams of sugar in total from the 4 jars. And that in itself would give you an alcohol percentage, if you ferment it to dry, of about 12.6%. Do my maths. Yes, 12.6% if I'm not mistaken. So what we need to do to prepare the jam is really simple. We want to shove your jam into a great big massive saucepan that's big enough to hold the jam and the water. So grab yourself your big stock pot and pour in the jam from the 4 jam jars into your saucepan. Fantastic. With the jam added to your saucepan, you want to add about 200 grams of sugar straight in on top. This added sugar, this 200 grams of sugar, will bring the alcohol content up to about 15%. Just over 15% if you ferment it right the way down. I find that this jam wine really benefits from having that added burst of alcoholic flavour behind it. It's not a jammy jam intense flavour, this wine. It's a fruity, it's a subtle, its sweetness comes through. But the alcohol you get from the added sugar really has that lovely mouthfeel that carries that fruitiness forwards. And it is a great wine to make over winter and great wine to drink in summer. So pour in your 200 grams of extra sugar on top of your jam. Fantastic. And now we want to be adding 4 litres of boiling water on top of the jam and the sugar. So pour in your water into your stock pot, and into your pot you want to throw in 1 tea bag straight in, and that will add the tannin and a good amount of mouthfeel to the wine. Then give it a good stir and mix all that jam and the sugar in with the water and get it dissolved as much as you can. Get all those lumps and clumps of jam diffused and dissolved into the liquid. You want it to be a syrup, not a clumpy, lumpy, jelly type quagmire. And now we just need to turn the heat up and let it simmer away for about 15-20 minutes until all that jam has diffused and dissolved into the liquid and it's steaming lovely hot. Fantastic. Sweet, hot, jammy, sugar, fantastic. So get the heat on and I'll see you in a minute now after a cup of tea. Fantastic. Once your jam wine has been simmering for about 20 minutes and all the lumps and clumps of the jam have been diffused and dissolved into the liquid and it's all turned red and wonderful and brilliant, we want to put it into our demijohn. As always, sterilise your demijohns whilst it's simmering and doing. You want your jam wine to be nice and cool. You don't want it to be hot when you put it into your demijohn, and that's important for 2 reasons. First of all, you don't want your glass to crack. That'll make a right mess all over the kitchen for you to clean. Second reason why is we're going to be adding some pectines to break up the pectin that's within the jam. That makes it from a syrup into a clumpy, lumpy jam. So we're going to be adding that, and you don't want to add that when it's too hot. So make sure it's lovely and cool, room temperature, not hot, just right, perfect. So pour it in to your clean demijohn. And it does help to white out that tea bag before you start putting it through the funnel. You don't want your funnel getting bunged up, do you? No. And now we need to be adding the pectinates, which breaks up the pectic enzyme which is inside the jam. The pectinates removes any pectic haze that the wine will have, because when you make jam, you add pectic enzyme to create the lumpiness, the jam, compared to just a liquid. It's what solidifies it, and that can come through as a haze within your finished wine. So the pectinates removes that haze, it removes the protein, and it makes it look better, it makes it shine, it makes the wine, the jam wine, brilliant. Now, if you're using fresh fruit, I would normally add the pectinates 24 hours before I add the yeast. Now, I've not noticed any difference between adding the pectinates at the same time as I add the yeast, or waiting 24 hours. So for convenience, I like to add the yeast to my jam wine at the same time as I add the pectinates. For a fruit wine, you would normally add about 1 teaspoon per gallon. However, jam is quite dense in the pectic enzyme, so I'm adding 2 teaspoons, just to be sure. If you don't need that much, it won't do any harm having more, but I'd rather add more and get rid of any haze in advance by adding a bit more than adding not enough. So, sprinkling 2 teaspoons of your pectinates into your demijohn. With your pectic enzyme added, you now want to move on and add your wine yeast. I'm using a general purpose wine yeast for this particular wine. Although this can go up to about 15% of the wine, you don't need to add a high alcohol wine yeast, I find, because the general purpose wine yeast can cope with 15% normally and carry forward enough of the flavour of the alcohol and also the jamminess. Of course, if you want to explore and experiment, feel free, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below which wine yeast you prefer for this jam wine. So sprinkling a teaspoon of your wine yeast and also a teaspoon of your yeast nutrients. Fantastic. What we need to do now is insert a clean airlock into the top of your demijohn and set it aside in a warm place to start fermenting for a few days. After a few days, come back and top up your demijohn to the top of the neck. And the reason we don't fill up the demijohn so soon is because we don't want that yeast to have a massive party and cause a big eruption in the kitchen or airing cupboard. So leave a bit of headspace, leave a bit of room, and then top it up in 3 or 4 days' time. Then let the wine carry on fermenting until it's dry, until that hydrometer says it is pretty much no fermentable sugar left in it. Then rack it, set it aside, bottle it in about 3 or 4 months' time, and brilliant, it'll be ready for summer. Fantastic. If you enjoy this wine, why don't you check out this video up by here for another awesome, amazing wine recipe. Fantastic. And I'll see you really soon. You have fun now. See you soon.